you know, let me see if you're in the background. Oh, I'm gonna put you in the background. Let me touch myself up. I'm just gonna wait for a minute and see if anybody comes on, or wait until they do. Everybody wake up. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start because I have like an hour and I don't really know. I feel like out of my element right now. So I titled this Standing My Ground because that's actually, oh, no, hello. So this is a follow-up for my live stream from the other day when I was basically like, I don't know if anybody watched it, where I was like, I'm not moving. Like, I am going to stay in this house until they throw me out because that's how I felt. So I just have been literally like in AA, like it's so cliche, but I've literally been saying like one day at a time. And I woke up yesterday morning and I'm like, the power's off in the house. I don't know what I'm gonna do, So they called from the property management company, like where we rent from. They called and they're like they were really nice to me, which, again, like I always say, like it should not be a big deal to be treated like a human, but I never am. So when they called, they were like, basically they were like, we're going to give you the option to like have your name removed from the lease. That way you're not financially responsible that way, because y'all can't, both live there because of the restraining order and everything. And so they were like, is that something that you'd be interested in, just because this is kind of like a tricky situation. It's kind of like a messy situation and nobody really knows how to handle it. So I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Like I can't pay the bills here, like, as things stand, and he can because he has a job and everything. So I'm like, well, what does that mean? And they're like, well, when you sign this, you'll have 48 hours to vacate. So I'm like, okay, no problem. No idea where I'm going to go. Like, no clue what I'm going to do. So that was at like 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. And I'm just crying, like just crying, like for like hours. Like I'm just like, literally just like hysterical crying. And I would get up and I was like, well, I've got to start packing either way. So I would get up and start packing and then be like I would get like so nauseous. Like I would get so sick to my stomach because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So when I talked to my therapist, like our session, hello, hi. Like when I talked to, when I talked to my therapist, like at our session on Monday, she was like, she had mentioned that she had clients that were like in situations similar to mine. What am I talking about? I'm talking about how much things can change in life in like 24 hours. Because like yesterday I was homeless pretty much. And she was like, go to because I wanted to get set up. So I just got out of, just quick recap. So I just got out of rehab, like a week and a half ago. Came home to like a domestic abuse like situation, facing being homeless, staying clean, not clean, not like this, but like actually staying clean, like not wanting to use, but having like real life situations and being like, I act like I'm talking fast because usually people come on and then they leave really fast. But the thing is, I'm like going to slow down because you know, people either want to stay in or they don't, and a lot of people don't, and that's fine. But I will give like a quick recap for anybody that wants to be, you know, filled in. But basically the point is this: I had no idea what I was going to do. So on Monday, my therapist was like, go to this thing this appointment that you have for, like, I had it for yesterday at 1 o'clock. And it was to get set up in IOP, which is like intensive outpatient treatment at the recovery center that's literally across the street from my house. So I was like, how perfect is that they're like across the street from my house, except that I have to vacate my home and have nowhere to go. So, and I'm not like boohoo, but like I really don't have anybody. Like I really don't. Like my friend Sam is like not in a position to help me, or he would, you know what I mean? Like I can't like sleep in his car, you know? My ex-husband is like, he has no idea how any of this works. I mean, we've been divorced, or we've been separated for like 8 years now. And he's like, well, why don't you just go back to rehab? I'm like, well, first of all, because I don't want to go back to rehab, you know, like, and also if you go to treatment, like to go to drug rehab, you literally have to fail a drug test, which it seems crazy, but really it's because it's not a homeless shelter. So like people would go in off the streets if they just needed a place to stay and be like, you know, I'm a drug addict, you know, so you would have to fail a drug test. So in order to go back to rehab, to not be homeless, I would have had to go use drugs. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. That's crazy. So I would go from like crying to packing. And I'm just like waiting, for this thing at 1 o'clock. So at 1 o'clock, I go across the street, to the rehab center. So it's like a rehab center, and then it's like next door is like the outpatient center. So I go in there and like I get set up with IOP, like still having no clue what I'm gonna do, you know, but and they spent like 2 hours with me, like the full assessment, like asking me all these questions, you know. So then we got to the part where it was like, you know, I don't want to like say it, but like basically, do you have thoughts of like not wanting to be alive, you know? And I'm like, all the time. I'm like every day, when I'm alone, because of, you know, the history that I've had like with my family and everybody, and like thinking that the world would be a better place without me, and then like seeing how they've responded to my brother-in-law. Respectfully, what was it that you had to go to rehab for? I used to be bad off on meth, but I'm clean for years now. Yes, and that's what I was there for too. That's what I was there for. And part of this YouTube, like part of this channel was going to be to give hope to people who were going through similar struggles, but also specifically meth, because here's the thing with meth that people might not know. And I'm smiling. I'm not making light of it, but here's the thing. Getting off of meth is like this. Go to sleep, wake up, eat a little bit, and then like push through with your life. Now, whatever your problems were that you were running from, and you were using meth as like a coping mechanism, like they're not gonna go anywhere. Like they're still gonna be there. So if you've lived a life of like trauma filled, like for me it was fear. For me, everything, I was afraid of everything, because I had been in messed up abusive situations for so many years that like the trauma was on top of trauma was on top of trauma. So my behavior in response to the fear that I was so used to, it was like all it took was like one traumatic incident, which it was very traumatic. I mean, I was almost murdered. And so, but that like perpetuated this cycle of fear-induced, you know, like what we resist persists. So every time I would be afraid that a man was going to kill me, it would, you know, essentially like that would be like what would almost happen, you know? And so I think that meth induces, that's a similar feeling of you're just in a constant state of like hypervigilance. Like you're just constantly like, you know, looking for, like non-existent fear, you know, inducing things. But like when you're actually afraid of dying, it feels like home. You know, that's how you live anyway. So it gives the illusion of like, this is the drug that's making me feel this way, but really it's not. Really, this is normal life for me. So, but I just think that there's a lot of people that feel like getting off of meth. Now, I understand that like opioid addiction and things like that are a little more severe in the fact that there is a physical dependence on it. So, okay, well, I want to go real quick because, like, so this is my friend Jade.
Hi.
So, Jade is also in recovery, and I wanted to tell, like, how quickly things can change, like, in my own life. But so, this is what happened. So, spoiler alert, like, fast forward to yesterday, like, I go to the IOP thing, and they're like, don't not be alive anymore, you know? And I'm like, well, I don't want to not be alive anymore, but I'm, like, literally hopeless. So the lady's like, bing, boom, boom. And she's like, I have you a bed in a sober living home. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, I can go like right now. I was glad I found you. I know. And I feel like this is going to be like a good thing. But so let me just back up a little more. So when I was in treatment, okay, spoiler alert, like Jay was in treatment with me, and we were like, instantly, you know, like really like, and I mean, I hit it off with people, but like not like this. Like she and I really were. You can scoot in here a little more if you want. So, and I love it, and we'll probably have more people come in. And it's really, there's power, like where two or more are gathered. And I always talk fast, like I feel like I'm in a hurry because people would jump in and on. But like, I really think that our stories would be like gripping enough for people to stay put, you know, or to like watch it on the replay.
Lots of material.
So Jade leaves treatment because people were like, bitch, I'll fuck you up, you know? And like, that's, again, with the living in constant state of fear, like, being in sobriety, being in recovery, like, it's called recovery. So that in itself, you know, signifies, like, you should want to be safe.
Right
so
now,
having people, like, threaten your life, you know, is, like, not... So she leaves.
Right now, we're having to recover from rehab.
Recovering from rehab, exactly. So she leaves, and then, I literally told her when she left, she was like, this is bullying. And I was like, I'm aware of bullying. It's been my whole life. I said, but here's the thing. I'm not stupid. When you leave, the target's going to be on somebody else's back. And I knew that, you know, and it was one of those things where like, I'll stand up for somebody, but I knew Jade would stand up for herself, but she knew the consequences of it. Like, she knew standing up for herself would mean
fist
being
fight.
Right, or just doing exactly what she did, like having to leave the situation. And it's tragic, but lo and behold, when she left, everybody that was on her, you know, like, bitch, I'll fuck you. I keep saying that because it really did traumatize me. Like, to have somebody be like, bitch, I'll fuck you up. Like, that is like, I'm going to quit saying it, but it really did traumatize me because, like I said, like, being abused really puts you in a state where, like, you feel the aggression coming off of them, you know?
Yeah.
So, so people are in my face like, no. So I was like, I have to leave too. So yesterday I get all this set up. So I'm like free of like the stress of like, where am I going to go? You know, things just open up, like literally like the world just opens up for me. So my friend Sam last night like brings me here. He's like on the GPS, right? He cooked me food and was like, you know, bringing me here. Too. And it was so good. Sam, if you're out there, he never watches these. People in my life don't ever watch them because they don't want to see how amazing I am. No, I'm just kidding. So Sam drops me off here. So we pull in the driveway. And I'm like, I'm going to text her and tell her I'm here. He's like, they're looking out the door right now. And I'm like, all right, like, I'm going to do this. The door flies open. And Jay runs out and, like, attacks me. And I'm like, ah. I'm like, oh, my God. Like, Jade. And she's like,
she said, is it too late to change my mind?
Because I'm so not used to feeling loved and feeling welcomed. I was like, oh, like, this is too much. But it wasn't. Like, it was, like, just what I needed. And she's literally like, we're roommates, because like the lady had told me on the phone, she was like, Avenues is crazy, like what's going on there? She was like, I have a girl staying here that like went through a similar thing. And I was like, and you know, it's like when you stand your ground, you know that you're right, but it helps to have somebody else validate that. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
Like it's like it makes you feel better when you know. Like I know Jay,
and
like
to know that you're not the problem.
Exactly, because it's like Jay was saying, like the common denominator. Like it's so when you think rationally, you want to be like, I have to be the problem, you know, because this keeps happening to me.
But sometimes the equations we're in are just fucked.
Exactly. And you do carry this, like, I think it's like an energetic, like you put off this vibe that's like, let me be your punching bag. And even though no, I mean, people just, there's this like subconscious, like subliminal thing that people are like, that's a person that I can, you know, it's like, and there's like this conflicting thing of like, that's a person that I can bully, but also that's a person that I'm intimidated by because I know that they have, you mean, like, there's just not many real people out there. So I say all that to say this. Look at this. Like, first of all, we're in a home where
Yes.
there's literally like a beautiful home, because again, it's like this thing where when you go through all this stuff, people expect you to just be happy with what you have. They just expect you to be like, oh, well, you should be glad that there's a roof over your head. But like, we don't deserve to be like I deserve, it's not, okay, let me say, we don't always get what we deserve. Praise God, we don't get the consequences all the time of like our actions. But when you're mistreated and whether you deserve it or not, when you have not only a safe place to lay your head, but one that's a home that's beautiful, like not a house, but like a home with chickens,
family.
with family, that's like nice, you know, it just makes it that much better. And it just shows that like God really is willing. Like this guy in AA the other day, he said, if I would have made a list of all the things that AA has done for me, if I would have made a list of all the things that I wanted AA to do, and looking back on it now, he said, I would have sold myself short. He said, because AA has done for me like more than I could have ever imagined. Oh my goodness.
Can I share a praise
Yeah.
report?
I'm going to read this one.
I just got a message from Liberty University online. You've been accepted and can register for classes. Reply or call or visit the link. We're happy you're here. I also just got a job up the street at the Best Western. And I got a doctor's appointment on Monday to fix my tooth that was broken in a fist fight. And so all this fighting, all this trauma is turning around because I have been placed in a beautiful home, and I AMA'd from Avenues, like she said.
Like leaving,
and
like
that
leaving
same
against
night,
their,
I wound up here. And when they told me that a girl from Avenues Baton Rouge named Lindsay was coming, I'm like, watch Sinead O'Connor walk through the door, guys.
Oh, look, it's me.
And so when I saw the hat get out the car, I was just so excited, and I knew that was just God placing us back in each other's paths because we had more fun and adventure ahead of us.
And it really would have been, I mean, I would have been okay here if I wouldn't have known anybody. I mean, the people here were nice. They are nice.
They are.
But it is nice that when I tell you, like, I don't really have anyone. I mean, I always talk about my friend Sam all the time just because he was so, and then like my ex-boyfriend was at the house, like he came to the house, and you know, we were able to be like civil about it. You know, he's there with the dogs now. It's not a good idea for us to have like a lot of conversation. But the crazy thing is, like, when you're in AA, it's like it's kind of like when they say there was more rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who repents. I always wonder, like, who are these people that are like watching these sinners out here living their life crazy and they're righteous, and then when they repent, they're like, yay! But it really is like to watch her get, like, I get chills right now. Like, I have chills. Like, we literally got up this morning and rode our bikes. Like, we rode bikes. And I was like, oh, this is so much fun. Like, literally up the road, she's been like, I mean, it's not like it happens this fast. Like, she's been persistently pursuing this job. But, like, literally, we go in there, we get coffee. The owner walks in. He's like, hey.
Have that hustle mentality.
Literally, like, and I just sat there and watching it like this. Like, just watching it happen. Like, literally watching her get this job and seeing it all unfold. I mean, just right before my eyes. And it's not only is it you want that for the people that you care about, but it's so inspiring, you know, to think that, like, literally, you know, yesterday I was homeless pretty much, you know, and to think that, like, you know, it's not always going to be easy in sobriety, but like I never watched stuff like this happen when I was using, you know, like I literally, like the person just said, like I was alone, and I'm not somebody who puts myself first. Like, I'm not somebody who's like, I'm a drug addict, like I gotta look out for myself. I still had that mindset of like wanting other people to do well, but it was just like, how much you have nothing to give anybody else when you're using, you know. There's literally chickens over here. I wanted to do like a full tour of the house and everything, but I feel like maybe that's inappropriate because there's just other people here and stuff. But I wanted to share, because when I said like I'm not leaving this home, like I meant that, because no one's gonna force me to leave my home when his boss and stuff were like, well, you need to leave, I'm like, but no, I don't. I've never claimed to be a victim, ever. But that's what I was. You know, like I was literally a victim. And then when the people called me yesterday and gave me that, you know, opportunity to do things the right way, I was like, absolutely. So I guess the message would, my phone never rings. Basically the message would be standing your ground sometimes means knowing when to back down. You know, like standing your ground is good until it's not.
Sometimes the fight best fought is the fight avoided.
Oh, that gives me chills. That really gives me chills. Yeah, and then so I have everything set up for like IOP, which is like, I keep saying this, but it's like intensive outpatient. So it's like basically picking up where rehab left off. It's just you don't have to like stay the night there and stuff. It's like 3 days a week. And praise God for Medicaid. Like literally praise God for Medicaid, because I have transportation set up. Like I can get from sober living to the treatment center Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 9 to 12. Like they will come pick me up, bring me there, bring me back here. Like the guy called earlier, he's like, just making sure I have everything straight. Like I'm gonna pick you up in the morning. Like, so I don't care what anybody says about the government. Like I'm not gonna get into politics, but like there's people that want that, you know, like there are ways. And like I did exactly what I was told. You know, I called first thing this morning. They were like, oh, you can call at will. Like you can call and be like, hey, I need a ride. But like I called first thing this morning. Like I called my doctor as soon as I got out of rehab. I called my doctor and was like, I got to get back on my prescriptions, because when you leave AMA is what she was saying. Like when you leave against medical advice, they don't give you your prescriptions or anything. No. And it's very easy to fall back into addiction, because whatever you were using, like you were self-medicating with drugs, you know, you go and you're quitting prescription drugs too. It's not a good place to be. Especially when you go back to the same environment. I mean, I left my home over a month ago wanting to, you know, not be here anymore. And then I went back a month later to like the same environment. So, you know, people, I just want people to know kind of like what it's like out there. And a lot of people don't really know what recovery is like, or what, you know, rehab is like. It's not for the faint of heart, you know, but neither is being a drug addict. You know, neither is, and like this is a lifestyle that, I mean, and being around women too, like that's a thing I was gonna say too. Men have this camaraderie lately that I've seen. Like, have you noticed that? Like men are like my friend Kevin,
fighting against
it's like there's like they will go to an AA group together. AA meeting, they will leave there and go to a home group. They'll go out to like men have this camaraderie lately that I've seen. Maybe it's, I mean, I don't know. It's always been that way.
There's less females in treatment than there are males.
But
there's less sober living houses of all females. There's very few all women AA groups. Yeah. And when women get together, it should be sisterly bonding, but it really isn't all that.
No, and it's also like getting women together. Like that's the thing too, is like I was at my home, and like the only people that, my foot's falling asleep, the only people that would come by and check on me were men. And it, you know, I'm not going to exploit myself in any way. Like that's one reason I don't have hair, is because like I'm not gonna be like, ooh, like, oh, woe is me, like, can you help me, you know? but so, and the men would come by, and like my neighbor was like, he came by the other day and was like, did I drop some money at the store? Because I saw him at the store when I was getting coffee. He was like, did I drop some money? I was like, no, I don't know if you did. But if I had money, like I pay for my coffee with change. So I'm like, if you're trying to tell me that you have more money, like just go, you know, because that's how men are. They're like, you know, trying to be, but anyway, so I say that to say that like to be around women is where I wanted to be, you know. Not sure where y'all are, but it sounds more supportive than South Carolina.
We're in Louisiana, baby.
And
we're
I think
right
that
outside Baton Rouge.
And if there are so, and I'll say like, so my therapist,
they have a Baton Rouge, South Carolina too. I know that.
Do they really?
They really do.
It's crazy. You know, and I don't know, I mean, that's something that we could look into, you know, I mean, but also, you know, like changing locations is not a bad thing. I don't have to worry about running into anybody that not in a bad way. Like I'm not gonna go to a job and like run into somebody that I used to use drugs with, because really, well, I mean, and it doesn't matter, because like I'm not, it's just different, you know. But if you're somebody who's like from a hometown and like you're using there with everybody, and it's like, and a lot of times your family and the people around you are really what makes you want to use anyway.
Yes,
like
sober or not, people, places, and things need to change.
Mhm.
Because even if you weren't in places where drug use is common, it could still be a trigger somehow.
Yeah.
Even if you weren't around addicts, those people could still be a trigger.
Yeah.
Things, certain things would set you off. It's not like everyone was pushing drugs in your face and that triggered you.
Yeah.
It was other stressors that would trigger you
Yeah.
to go find the drugs.
And I just want to keep being a huge advocate for, like, if you think, like, I don't know if it's uncomfortable for people to talk about it as openly as I do, but like when I really say I did not want to be alive anymore, like yesterday. Like literally, I did so much. I worked so hard to go through treatment. Like I went to the hospital, I went to treatment. I mean, and I'm like an overachiever.
She really did give it full.
And I was for it.
Full
Like
effort.
I felt like my life was really getting back on track. I went home to the same environment and was like, I don't want to be alive anymore. And I know my brother-in-law, like I just, because I know he felt like he had no other way out. And like I said, everybody in my family acts like life is better without him. They would probably act the same way if I was not here anymore. But there are people in my life now, and I know that they will continue to have people in my life that, like, it sounds so trivial, but like if I was not here tomorrow, like they would be affected by that. Like to know that there's people that wouldn't be like good riddance. I hate when I have to like get in, like, let's see, trying to be nosy, but what was it the biggest trigger, or rather how did you start? For me, it was my older sister and her friends back when I was 17, and that's exactly what it was for me too. I didn't, excuse my language, like I didn't give a fuck. Like when I was 17, I went from, when I was 14 is the first time I ever drank. I started talking country as soon as I started talking about back home. I'm like, when I was 14, the first weekend that I ever drank.
I started using too.
Really?
Yes.
I went from, the first time I drank vodka and orange juice, I was shit-faced, like slept in my own puke, and you could not tell me anything after that. Now, in my life, I very much have overcame, like, I don't have a lot of addict tendencies. Like, I'm very structured. I'm very routine. I've very much got my life in order. But the dangerous thing about that is, especially with meth, it became this challenge for me to be a drug user, but be like a functioning addict. And it's possible. And I don't recommend it because people are like, really? You did meth? You have all your teeth. You don't look like, and I bounce around all the time. Like, I'm like,
mine too.
Yeah, it's like my energy level is so high anyway that I was fooling people, therefore I was fooling myself. And that's a dangerous thing too. But I was out of control. I went from like drinking every weekend, like blackout drunk, to when I was 17, smoking weed, snorting coke, snorting meth, taking ecstasy every weekend. I went to college. It was blackout drunk. I was in a sorority. This is not me bragging in any way. I mean, I was literally the worst train wreck ever. Like, I would come to my sorority meetings on Sunday mornings. One time I had throw up on my shirt, holding one of my shoes, and was like, do I look okay? Like, I would just, and it was really, like I said, like fooling other people, because I would jump around so much that people would be like, oh my God, like everybody had that one time. Like, I remember that one time that I got like blackout drunk. Like, I can't believe that one time. And I'm like, everybody didn't know that was like not my one time. Like, I would just go out with different people and like wake up in the back of a vehicle.
I stayed ripping and running from the west side of Lafayette all the way to the east side of Baton Rouge, all the way to the West Bank in New Orleans. And I had so many friends and acquaintances and places I like to go shoot pool. That's what I would do, is I'd move around hustling pool and dealing drugs and bartending. And I was just on tap a lot of places as a bartender. So they would see me for a week or 2 weeks at a time, and then I'd be off in another city. I was living out my car, crashing with friends, loving the gypsy lifestyle. And so no one would see that this was just how Jade was all the time.
Yeah.
They would just see glimpses of me.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, and I'll tell you, but like I got married in 2012 and I had two beautiful...
Sorry. The green lizard on the white pole.
Oh, it's a wizard. So I got married in 2012, and I literally lived like a domesticated life for like
That's chicken
10,
food right
no,
there.
like 7 years probably. I would say that, I mean, we were together for longer than that, but I had like a 7-year period that I really was like domesticated. I mean, I was a stay-at-home mom. I did all the things, you know. But when my ex-husband and I, like when we split up and he was so abusive to me and then almost murdered me, it was like that, I guess you would say that was what triggered it. You know, I could not overcome that fear, first of all, because no one was there for me. You know, and it's not like a sob story, but I mean, it really was. Like, no one was there for me.
For me, it was the hardest to hide it from everyone while trying to get my mind right for my kids.
Yeah. Oh, and I haven't had my kids. So, like, I was
Yeah.
open. Like, I didn't put my business out there to everyone. But also, like, I love Jesus more than anything in this world. And I feel like I'm not a hypocrite. So, when people are like, why are you so happy? Why are you so bubbly all the time? Like, I would tell them, like, if they were somebody that I was even, like, a little bit personal with, I would be like, well, I love Jesus more than anything in this world, but I also smoke meth. Like, you know, because I don't want to be a hypocrite, but I knew that that was wrong. Like, I knew that that was not the message that I wanted to send people, is like, oh yeah, I love Jesus, but I smoke meth. But I just did not care. Like, I've never wanted to quit. Like, for the last 4 years, I literally smoked meth every day, and not a lot. Like, when I went to rehab one time, they could barely even get the line. Like, I was like, you know,
Yeah.
I barely failed the drug test to go there, because they were like,
I
it
went
looks like
into
you
a lot
take
of rehabs clean even.
Yeah,
They
because
send
I
you
was like,
3
but it
hots and
was,
a cot and a reset.
but it was just my way of saying, like, you know, I don't care. Like, I'm going to do what I want to do. And this, like, literally this time around, when I was like, it wasn't life or death for me. Like, if I keep smoking meth, I'm going to die. It was like, if I keep living in this tortured prison in my mind and like in my life, I'm going to choose to not be here anymore. And I am going to read the comments in a minute. But, so when I went to the hospital, you know, the doctor was like, what are you going to do with your life?
The kids' mom had went away out of dope, so I had to tape her off. I started using a lot and started dealing drugs and bartending when my son moved to Missouri. And that had nothing to do with me or my meth use. The schools in Baton Rouge really are the worst in the country. And so in kindergarten, it was bad. So me and my ex-husband, decided to pull him out after the first quarter. And so my son is 12 hours away, so there's nothing I can do for him. So it's like party on.
Might as well.
I
And that
just
is very
started
much the
wilding
drug
then.
addict.
At 30 years old.
Yeah, that's what I did too. I was like, and that's very much the drug addict mindset, is like, it's not going to change anything. So why? I get chills right now. Like, might as well, you know, like if I can't, you know, but here's the thing, like, it doesn't matter if the drug use, like, I was traumatized. Like, I was very much a victim of very, very horrible things, you know, and no one was there for me. And that's the fact. But the fact is, never when I've used drugs have opportunities opened up for me for a better life. You know, I cannot say there's no way I could say for the last 8 years that I've been using drugs that nothing good has happened to me, and it's not because of drugs. There's no way I could say that, because literally I've been just barely over a month clean, and look at life, you know, like I can't get over the chickens, you know, but I'm like all these things, and it's like, and I think part of it is having people in your life that are like you know what I mean, like being around people, first of all, that have never experienced trauma. I mean, everybody in my life was like, they just didn't understand it. They were like, why do you let men hit you? You know, and I'm like, let them.
Yeah,
I'm like, I needed a place to live. You know, I'm like, I wanted love, you know, and I never, and it took me going through all this to love myself, you know, but the thing is, like, being around people that are not only that have went through trauma, but they're healing from it, and they just understand you know, like my family is just like, I mean, I'm not going to ever talk about them. I'm never going to talk about them again. They don't matter, because this is my family now, you know? And that's what Jay kept saying to me yesterday. She was like, you're home, you know? And I feel like that, you know what I mean? Like that, look at this chicken, like poking his head out.
Yeah.
Oh my God, la, 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 la. That's what I kept telling my dog, Roscoe. I was like subliminally messaging him when he was sleeping. I was like, Roscoe, when I make this sound, you're going to start running like a horse. La, 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 la. But it was just like the chicken sound, I think. I'm very psychic like that. That's probably more like a turkey. So I'm probably going to end this now, because there doesn't need to be, like, I don't have to make these really long, but I did want to follow up for my video from the day before yesterday when I was like, I'm standing my ground. And I did. And standing my ground looked like looking out for myself. And it looked like walking away from my home,
It's hard.
It is hard because I'm like, but standing my ground means walking away sometimes too. It definitely
Yes.
doesn't mean staying in a home that I can't afford, and being like, no, I'm going to sit here and lose. It's like if I lost everything, and we rented the home, so I'm not acting like we're going to lose it like that. But like if we both got evicted, I would never be able to rent again. And it would be one more obstacle that I would not be able to overcome to like get back on my feet again. And also like, I don't have anything to prove, like he paid the bills, he works. And I think one day maybe we would be able to be, civilized, but 4.5 years is a long time to try to make it work with somebody that's just
Not trying as hard as you.
not trying, we're just on, and I've said this about, my ex, like the father of my son, like I've said, he will probably, and he's like a State Farm agent. He's got a beautiful family. He's got like a wife that's a school teacher. They have 2 beautiful kids. I knew that he and I together were the problem. I said he will probably live a very beautiful life, and that's fine because that doesn't mean that he didn't beat the shit out of me every day, because he did. But I knew that there was something about he and I together that made him want to beat the shit out of me.
Well,
that doesn't
and
mean I deserved it.
A little background too. My ex-husband, I left him pregnant and moved to Louisiana from Missouri for that same reason. And he's been with my son has a half brother that's 9 months younger than him, and he has been with her mom since before my son was born. And they're married now, and they have a beautiful house, and they're both working professionals in their career fields, and doing very well, and raising the 2 boys, and doing a great job at it. It's just something about he and I didn't match. But I wanted to comment on one thing that you said. We don't ever let those motherfuckers hit us. And believe me, when we fight back and the cops get called, they usually take us. So, but we don't want to give up our home. We don't want to give up what we've worked for. And why should we have to leave? But eventually we do, because we aren't gonna continue to let them hit us. But when people say that, they just don't even know.
I think there's this fear that comes with it. It's like these men, they don't want to ever think that they could do that. So the fear that they could, it really is, and the fear that obviously I always had, of course, after being so badly abused for so long, it was like these things that we don't acknowledge, like it is, when you think about something, whether it's subconsciously or not, you're going to attract it. That was like one of the last things that my ex-boyfriend said to me before he went to jail. He was like, I guess I'm just like your ex-husband now. And I'm like, I feel like you've been afraid of that for this whole time. And I was too. And I'm getting over that. But I think the best thing for me is like, it sounds so stupid, but it's like being alone, I'm not going to be one of these women that's like, I don't ever need a man. Like, I don't need, that's not true. The last week, if I would have been alone, I probably would have, I don't know what would have happened to me. Like having a man there, not in like a romantic way, but like in a making me feel safe and like seeing me as a person. I needed that. But, him dropping me off here yesterday was like what I needed too. I was like, that's the kind of savior. These men talk about like, oh, everybody, I'm not going to be your savior. Like, that was a savior for me. To be there for me as a friend when I needed it most, and then be able to set me free, like to be able to be like, if you need anything, call me, and just to see that, it really, needing a man every now and then is not bad, because men need women too to feel loved and validated, and that's something that a lot of men, or most men, don't get. Okay, stay the course. God will keep y'all. Just for me being a random guy from South Carolina, I'm glad that I found y'all and have this impromptu chill session. I love that too. And I want to do these like daily, just because it really does I got to a point where I couldn't keep journals anymore because I would write so fast. Like my mind would go so fast that I couldn't keep up. But it's nice to have a way to look back on this, because it's easy to fall back into despair and go, you know what, it is my fault. Like I do deserve this. Like if I don't plan on like having a bad situation again, but if that happens, a part of me is going to be like, I deserve this, you know? So when I look back at this and I remember like who I am, you know, when I watch these, like I always watch these back after I post them, to just make sure there's nothing like no nip slips or anything. I just want to make sure that, I mean, and I've never, I mean, I don't have a filter because my mind, I've made my mind work in a way that I don't have anything to be ashamed of. I'm not like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. But I am very open about everything. But when I go back and watch them, I'm like, that's me. You know, I'm like, that's me. And it makes me feel so good. And I'm like, that's the me that people see. And if they don't like that person, that's not my fault, because I see me and I'm like proud of me, you know, and I'm proud of my smile and I'm proud that it's real, you know.
I love her for who she is.
Tell y'all
for
what,
sure.
if you decided I love that. I mean, so, and I guess the timing is different, but I feel like, well, my girl's going to be working here and I'm going to be working too, but for now we'll do it for like 10 o'clock, you know? And like comment your, like, okay, so my email address is the same as my name on here. It's Alice Breedlove, AliceBreedlove, and then the number 1 at gmail.com. And like email me, and like I did a video, I took it down because I looked like a clown. But I was like, here is my contact info. If you want to die, or if you believe that you can't kick a habit, or if you like, I am not inspiration at the moment, but like I know that it can happen. And now like literally like every day I'm just like, this is really, it really is that easy. Like if it, you know, as bad as you think it could be, you could be like a day away from being better. What's your name? I hate that every time I have to look at this, I'm like all in the thing. Yeah, I mean, and I can plan on doing like a 10 o'clock. I mean, like Jay's gonna be a working girl. I've got to get a job too, which I'm excited about, you know. But like when I finish here, we're gonna go to
AA.
Josh. Hello, Josh. Hello. We're gonna go to AA meeting, and then I'm gonna get this.
His name would be Josh, wouldn't it?
Is that your ex-husband's name?
No, it's the ex-boyfriend's name.
Oh, it's a common name. We'll call you Joshua.
What's up, Josh?
This is Jade. I'm
Hey.
Lindsay. I'm Alice. My mom was like, why do you have that stupid name on your Facebook? I'm like, why would I have to make a fake name to reach out to my mother? I'm like, how can you make anything be a bad thing about me? I said I wasn't going to talk about my family anymore, but it's just crazy to me. And I'm like, I will get up here and I will talk openly about anybody, because like, I know that they're not ever going to watch this. I'm like, this is insane, but like, I'm not ever going to reach out for love from anybody that doesn't want to give it to me ever again. I don't have anything to prove. Now that my life, like it doesn't matter how good my life gets. Like I'd never have to prove anything to them. That's one of the reasons that I
reaching out to Josh for love.
This is your new Josh. We're going to reach out to you now, Josh. I'm emailing you now. Yay. And just put your contact info on there. And I can go live with other people too. Like I have people, actually from like, I'm trying to think, because even like in the rehab, because there was good people in that facility. There's always good people in places. It may not be like overall or like the people in charge, but like, I had people on there like nurses and staff members and stuff that I wanted to connect with, and have people on here, like, you know, just have them like in here with me, to give their perspective on recovery. I don't, you know, they say that when you do, a YouTube channel, the number one thing that they tell you to do is like have a niche, you know, like you want to be very specific about what you target your audience for. I don't care, because I think that I'm not, and you can't put me in a niche. You can't put me in a box. You can't say that I'm a battered woman or a drug addict or a
Born
you know
again believer.
Right, like or like a Jesus freak, you know. I am all of those things. Like I am me, you know. So to target my channel towards only women, or only women who've been abused, or only
people in recovery,
yeah, or anything, like I think that that's selling short. Not to mention the fact that there's a lot of people out there who've probably related to all those things. And for some reason, men seem to watch my channel more. I think it's because they see the shorts with me, like doing handstands.
Yeah.
And they think that I'm like, it's really not inappropriate. Like, I don't do these things to be sexy. I'm literally a child at heart. I'm out there doing handstands, which I still am like a child at heart. But at the same time, like, it is time to grow up, Peter Pan, you know? So email me. And I'm glad Jay came on here with me, because I do think that it helps. Like, literally, where two or more gather, like, there Jesus will be. And it's just like, when you, like the AA book says, like, when you cry out to God, like, he will always answer you. You know, if you're not ready. Okay, this is the last thing I'm going to say. So there was these two men that they were walking down the street, and they were like just walking, just kind of walking on the street, and they hear like this moaning noise, and they're like, oh my God, like, what is that sound? And they're like kind of following it to see what this horrible like noise is. And they're like, look, like this dog is on the porch, like he's like in agonizing pain. So they get a little closer, and one of the guys is like, look, like he's on a nail. Like, this dog is like laying on a nail, and it's like, and he's in excruciating pain. And they're like, the guy's like, we gotta help him. Like, we gotta get this dog off this nail that's, hurting him so bad. And so he goes to run, and the other guy grabs him and pulls him back. He goes, hey, when he's ready to get off that nail, he'll get off that nail, And it's like, it very much has always stuck with me, because it's true. Like, if you are asking God for help and nothing's changing in your life, you can't expect him to open doors for you that you're not ready to go through. When you cry out to God, I get chills. Like, when you've really, really had enough of whatever hole you're in, like, and he acts fast. Like, I'm telling you, God acts fast. Like, my ex-boyfriend literally went to jail for throwing a remote, and there was nothing I can do to change it. When I cried out to God, God, I cannot take this anymore. I cannot. Save me. What is the rapture? Like, I don't know, because I feel like I've waited for it for years now, and I realize that, like, I don't think it's us lifting into the sky, into the clouds. Maybe it is. Maybe it is not a metaphor, but I feel like it was me sitting outside looking in the stars like I did every night, and being like, I can't do this another night, and crying. I'm talking like, like really crying, and crying out to God. Not asking him to put a person in my life, not asking him to give me a car, not asking him to open up this job opportunity, but I'm saying, just crying out to him, God, please save me. Save me from this situation. Save me from this hell that I'm in, that I can't seem to get out of. And it's like, boom, these things just happen like fast. And I'm like, I always am amazed, even after every time God has done that for me, I'm always amazed at how quickly he comes when you call out for him. Hello, my two friends. I love my two friends. Oh, okay. We're going to get off of here. We're going to get ready for this AA meeting. And then Jade has her first day of work, like today. Like, literally,
Yes.
That's how he was like, can you start right now?
That quick.
And I was like, just sitting there, like, just like this, like,
Just remember, things will materialize if you work. Sometimes quickly, sometimes
slowly. But they will. God will always come through. And it may be more, or it may be different than what you think. But like, I mean, honestly, like, being dropped off of my friend.
Seeking him in prayer. But we gotta go. Don't
Okay.
get started on another tangent.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys. Peace out.
Take care.
Girls.